Hello, my name is Armand. I'm a newborn photographer. Today we're gonna record a video which I should probably record. I should have done it many years ago. I've done newborn photography now since 2009. It's been a long time, and I thought, you know what? There's few business changes, life changes coming in, and I thought I'll better record the series of these videos now. Then probably later I'm just simply not going to do it. I'm not going to have any more time to do it. So I have few weeks, so I'm just sitting down and cranking out a bunch of videos basically for you guys, those who want to start newborn business. You know, what do you need to think about money, what do you need to buy, not to buy, and stuff like that. I'll be talking about a lot about my own mistakes, and I've done loads of big thousand pound mistakes. So basically, yes. So this is not today a posing video. I just have my posing baby here. I just didn't want the table to be basically empty. But yeah, this would be my normal setup where I would work. So I will be talking about the setups and things like that in one of the videos. This is the part one, so if you have ended up on whatever other parts of in a YouTube playlist, you have a look. Maybe start from this one, just kind of like go from the beginning. So anyway, so what we're going to discuss today. So we are discussing. Oh, I have my notes here. We are discussing here today everything before you even start spending money. What do you need to talk about, or what do you need really either talk with someone or really to think about the stuff, maybe what you should not do, what I did basically. So yeah, so let's dive in. So in this part one video, we're covering things which at this point don't cost you any money. So we'll be talking about thinking about why you want to be a newborn photographer. We're thinking about the money before setting up business. We're thinking about choosing the name, hobby or business, what are your financial goals, and we're talking about a little bit, about full-time job, quitting the full-time job, etc. So in this video we're covering kind of all like meditation parts where you're really thinking about, okay, I want to be a photographer, newborn photographer. What happens basically from here? What do I need to think about? Okay, let's start from pretty obvious thing. Why? Why do you want to be a newborn photographer, newborn or baby photographer? So have a think, what is the reasoning behind, either if that maybe is a life situation at the moment, you maybe want some side income, or you're really enjoying working with the babies. Maybe you're working, in childcare sector or something like that, and you really like working with the babies, and you're thinking, hey, it would be probably quite nice to have this as a business, to work with families, kids, especially with newborns. So have a, think a little bit about your why, and that probably also gonna drive all, a lot of your copy and a goal of the business and things like that. For me, I was at that point in my last year of degree, photography degree, and we had to try something new. And at that point, I've never photographed people. Like generally, I was pretty much studio based or location, sometimes locations kind of commercial photographer. I've done a fair bit of commercial work or and location documentary kind of work, but nothing really posed, definitely nothing with babies. And I saw these photos from some American or Australian websites, and I was like, oh, okay, those babies look quite cute, it would be quite nice to try something. And our goal of our last year in degree was to work on something what we have never done. So for me, that was generally people, but I wanted to go like more children, baby route. So that was, and also thinking behind that, it was a financial crisis, as we know, 2008, the dot-com bubble and all that basically. So economy and commercial wasn't the best at the time. And I was starting to think, how am I going to make money? And of course, babies are born all the time. So I thought, okay, if I could learn this as a craft, that probably could be quite good income, and it proved correct choice at the point at that time. So yeah, so that was kind of like a little bit thinking behind for me. Now, next point, business name. Now, it is kind of important from maybe a SEO standpoint as well. What you're gonna do as a business. Do you want your business to be your name? Do you want your business, to be something else? Like for me is A-Photography. I didn't want my business to be my name, because my thought process was always, what if one day I want to sell? Or I want to sell it maybe, or I want some photographers take over my studio. I would still be in charge of the studio, but they would just basically work for me. So I was thinking a little bit further down the line, and I would recommend you to do that too, to think a little bit, however many years you're planning to do this, have a little bit think further down the line. Okay, what will be my kind of, goal? Maybe even what will be your exit goal, basically, exit plan when you finish up. Do you just shut down and walk away, or are you planning to sell the business, etc., etc.? So it'll be much easier to sell if it's not your brand name. Also, if you're changing a brand later, it might be quite expensive to do so if you need to change domain and this and that. So there's a lot of implications of what could happen, and a lot of them are expensive or not very good for SEO, and you're kind of starting again new business, and and just stuff like that. So yeah, have a kind of like think about what you would like this to be in terms of the SEO point. For example, my company has A-Photography, but it doesn't spell as photography, basically, it just spells in a different way. So I've always kind of battled a little bit the SEO part, because most of my competitors locally are, with photographer or photography word in the domain. So that kind of covers one keyword straight away for you, and it's pretty obvious for people, what do you do? I'm a photographer, basically. So yeah, that's that. I'm kind of like zooming through this. I don't want this to be an hour-long video. If you guys have any specific kind of questions, feel free to ask. I can make a separate video for Q&As after. So yes, I was mentioning long term. So obviously all decisions you're making are for long term. Now, hobby or business. So this is interesting because I have gone through. So when I left uni and started photography, I was kind of from get-go, I was already a year before shooting for money. So for me, business was very important, that I'll be making money. Probably for you, decisions are you a main breadwinner, for example? Who is making money in your family? So is that going to be you, or you are kind of making the holiday money, saving money, just more relaxed kind of like approach to that? So for me, I was a main breadwinner, so I need to make this kind of work from get-go pretty much. So there was no much, what if and etc., etc. So I made some mistakes with that. I'll be talking about that a bit later. But yes, for me, from get-go, I had to make this work as a business. It was not really as a hobby. I mean, in a way, it is a hobby, photography. We like to do the photography, etc., etc. for me. But for me, a business head was pretty much, like when I went to uni and college, for me, business head was money. Money was kind of like screwed on quite early on, comparing to some of my other classmates. So basically I was treating a lot this as a business. What will be my expenses, incomes, etc., etc. So what do I need to charge? Don't start from rock bottom with the money and charging and stuff like that. So yeah, so have a think, what are your money goals from this? Right, so next one will be interesting one. Let's talk about money to start business. So this is where I went in my business quite hot-headed. I definitely miscalculated how expensive newborn photography is. Let's say family photographer, for instance. So family photographer, maybe you're shooting on location. You don't need a studio space, stuff like that. You can go to client homes. Camera, maybe, whatever, reflector, flash, maybe one speed light, stand, pretty much. That's the umbrella. That's it. So basically you just need people and you photograph whatever happens in front of you. If you're documentary storytelling photographer, you most likely don't need even speed lights and stuff like that. That's all what you need. That's it, and lenses. So for me, when I started, first of all, you couldn't really, at the time, there was no education videos. Like, there was very little. Everything was always behind paywalls, very, very expensive trainings. And there was nothing definitely in UK at that point. I think there was one photographer down south who just started a little bit with the training. But again, I felt like I'm already at that level in terms of what I can do with newborns. So business, and let's be honest, in college and uni, they don't teach you business. Like money, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a taboo question to ask, but it's all about art and, how to photograph, but nobody really talks about how you were going to make money, basically, or how much you'll need to spend. So when I came to a spending, I just went crazy, stupid crazy, basically. And now thinking back, that very first 2 years was a crucial mistake, where I started to buy crap non-stop, props, and I had 2 bodies, cameras, I had multiple lenses, and I did have actually a studio at that point already. So basically it was just like spending, and I was spending money which I did not have. So basically your credit cards, maxing one, maxing second one, and it was a hole after that. Basically, it took me years to get out of that hole. Please do not spend money you don't have. Like, I learned that lesson hard way, and it affected mentally me, it affected my family. It was not fun, and I do not recommend anybody to be in that situation. However, what I do say, so basically, if I would set up business now, first of all, and you probably heard this, before from all sorts, there is ton of education now out there. So make some sort of saving pillow. Basically, you're doing your full-time job. By the way, don't do also what I did straight away from college, from uni, and boom, we're starting to shoot. There is no job, there's no security. You have to make things go from very beginning. There is no kind of like cushion or anything. You just had to make it work from the start, and the stress level is insane to do that, basically. So yeah, so make a cushion. Ideally, make at least 6 months. So 6 months, whatever you need to cover the bills, and so make your own calculation, whatever are your expenses and whatever rents and things you need to cover. So basically do a calculation, how much is per month I need to feed myself, to survive, have a little bit spending money, bills, etc., and times 6. And once you have saved that kind of money, that's where you're really starting, okay, I'm going to buy stuff. Yes, you can do planning which is not costing you anything meanwhile, but before you jump in and start splurging left and right your hard-earned money, you want to save as much as you can before you jump in. Also, if you're working, and ideally probably you will be working in whatever job you're doing, leave on a good terms your work. It sounds stupid, but you never know if this is actually gonna work. I will be making a separate video talking about how difficult it is to do newborn photography. It's not all happy days, hunky-dory, chuck the baby on a table and blah, 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 and take a few photos and yeah, lots of money. No, oh my God, it's not. Definitely not. Probably newborn photography is one of the hardest fields of photography to walk in, and I have done all sorts of commercial headshots, families, all sorts of weddings and things like. Even weddings are much easier than newborns, I would say. So in a way, but yeah. So basically, yes, make sure you save as much as you can, and then if you leave the job on a good terms, something happens, this does not work out. you're giving permission yourself for 6 months to try, basically, okay, let's make it work. But at that point, probably you sat down and thought about a lot of things, and after 6 months you're really at that age, okay, I'm making a leap, I'm doing a, I'm investing money in a training, doing model calls, starting to make money, kind of. So you'll be preparing your 6 months yourself to that point. Right, so that's probably the most important part in this video would be this one. So I think that will be enough for very first video. There are a few good points for you to think about, especially a lot about finances, a lot of financial kind of idea behind it, who is the money earner and how much. Well, we are not talking about really how much we need to make, but you know what your expenses are, so and what do you need to make. So you really need to think about, can I do this as a hobby, as a side income? Maybe I have a full-time job. Actually, probably this is a good moment also address what maybe is happening in my life for you to know. Actually, let's finish our video with this. I know this is quite random here, but I didn't want this to be super polished, with all sorts of graphs and things like that. No, it's just, I'm just literally sitting down and talking my experience and what I have gone through. Okay. One more thing, let's talk about my side of things. So I've done full-time newborn photography, like told you earlier. I left uni, boom, straight away I was in and I was shooting and making money from get-go. So that was my full-time job. There was nothing else. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I wouldn't say I'm getting lazy, but I'm really valuing my time. Now, I have come to that part in your life where I have children, I have family, and I really want to spend time with them. And here, I really love what I do with the newborns. I love the shooting part, but I really don't like anything else. No editing. Marketing is... I like to think about marketing ideas, and we'll be talking about a little later about the mistakes. But all the social media, I really want to distance myself from all of that. I'm also quite normally introvert person. I really don't like kind of all this, look at me and hello, and every day posting. It's just not me, and there is no way for me to pretend that, I'm this whatever bubbly person. But yeah, so I'm at that point where I thought, okay, and economy now, to 2026, let's be honest, in UK, not the best, basically. Not the best. It's much harder to acquire that client. And I thought, you know what? I really want to work with children. I really what this business taught me actually from, 2009. In 2009, I had nothing to do with children, babies. I didn't have any friends with children. I just walked into this basically, and I started doing it. But what I have learned since that time is I really enjoy working with children. And this is actually probably the biggest twist basically for me, was actually discovering that I'm pretty good basically working with siblings, those 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, making them to do things what I wanted to do. The parents always were like, wow, okay, they're really listening to you and following your guidance and this and that. And I was like, oh, actually, I'm pretty good with that. So I sat down, probably a couple years already ago, I sat down, I was like, okay, if I would leave this, what would be the other thing I would do? And I want to go and work in schools, basically. I know, sounds, wow, shit, what, crazy? My wife was like, what? Are you crazy? What you doing? Stay with your newborns. But I was like, you know what? I want to do the full-time job. I want the stability. I think probably I should do the whole video talking about, thinking behind that. But I'm at that age where I just want a stable, simple life. Do your job, get paid, happy days, basically, So if somebody would pay me a good wage and come and work in my studio, I probably would do that. If I'm totally honest, basically here, because nobody realizes how much time goes in a newborn photography business, and maybe 10% of that is actual shooting. Everything else is what you're doing at home, whatever the all the other stuff. And if you want to be a photographer, you probably have already researched a ton of stuff what other photographers do apart of being photographers. It's just crazy amounts of work. So basically, so I'm at that point, okay, I'll take a full-time job from August. I'll be in full-time employment, and newborns will be my weekend job. I probably can make another wage with newborns, so it's a very good kind of side income way as well. So maybe somebody who is thinking about the side income, if you're doing a full-time job, think about it. Maybe you don't need to open a studio and start going all in. Basically, keep this as your side income. Learn what I'm, you know, teaching here and talking about, and take that on board. Basically, maybe you don't need to be full-time. And actually, when I'm thinking about this now, I probably could have done this swap probably 10 years ago easily, and I probably would be quite happy. It's just, it never comes to your mind. Something just flicks one day and like, oh, maybe, you know, or there was nobody to me who could say to me, you know what, if you're really struggling with all these things, you know, I know you like the photography, but maybe, you know, think about the other job and, you know, keep this as your side income. Who knows? Maybe I'll come back one day to full-time. Who knows? I don't know if I'm gonna love the schools that much, basically, money and all that. But I know that I'm gonna give a try and see if I can make this work. So if you are younger, let's say you're in your 20s, you have ton of time to make mistakes, experiment, do this and that. I started newborns quite late in my life already. I was already in mid-30s, and you know, and here I'm approaching basically my 50s. So yeah, so that's kind of like my thinking. Anyway, we just kind of rambled a bit at the end of this video, but I just wanted to kind of like talk a little bit about that. Okay, I think this closes this very first section, and I'll see you in next part.